bit busy, and I just got back from Raids 3 playtesting. This was the second round, and I thought I'd do an update video now that I have a bit of a better like grasp of where the raid is going and how we're gonna see it actually come out in a month from now. So let's have a look. So I've got a lot to cover. I'm gonna be doing this masterfully while I talk away. And of all the things that there are to cover, firstly, weapons. We actually got to play around with them this time, whereas we did not last time. And we get to use, I think, what are going to be the final versions of the weapons. So it's actually really, really... I mean, obviously, they were really fun, but I will get into it a bit more. And then, not just the fact that we got to try the weapons, but we were able to try them versus other places in the game, and not necessarily at Raids 3. So we got to try them out where they will actually be effective, or where they might shine a bit more. Again, trying not to give stuff away as to where they might actually be very good in the raid, or if they're even effective at all, because not necessarily everything is going to be necessarily good. And of course, that's how it is. We're trying not to be silly on NDA stuff. And apart from this, I get to talk about the bosses as well. So things like the changes that we were talking about previously in the last playtest, and the suggestions that we gave. Hopefully a lot of them are going to be, well, a lot of them are changed as we had requested, and of course devs did some stuff on their own. So there's a little bit more changing to do, of course, but they're really on a good path already. No pun intended, and they're probably going to be very, very fun to play when they actually come out. Let's actually start this clue off while I ramble a little bit. So, also, if you see this video up at the time where it is, I'll probably be live, so if you fancy asking any of these questions directly, or if you thought I didn't cover anything, then feel free to come on by and just be like, wait, what am I doing? And just tell me, and I'll try and give you a decent response best I can. I'm kind of just out of it the last few days, partially because the heat in the UK, I think everyone's been talking about it, it's just been absurd. We're going to get our hottest day on record ever, I think. Soon, TM? It's kind of silly. Also, I've forgotten how to use my damn cape. POH portals. No, what am I doing? Fishing guild. My god. I just misclicked. But yeah, if you want to ask me questions live, feel free to pop on by stream for a bit and just be like, how was this? How was that? But remember, I can't talk about stuff specifically. I've got to be really careful. I don't want to give stuff away. It's no fun for anybody. But I will tell you like what the raid is. You know, how did it feel? Was it fun? Blah blah blah. How are the weapons? You know, did they match up to what they should be? I'll get into some of that stuff now. But you know, if you got specific stuff, feel free. So, let's start off with weapons, I guess. So, of the weapons, I think the most... I can't remember exactly what there are. Was it Shadow Aatykon, which is the new mage weapon? This is the weapon that got some concept art released on Twitter recently, if you haven't seen it. I'm not going to pop it up on stream, just search it if you want to have a look for it, but it's super cool. It's probably the best looking weapon in the game. Purely based on the concept art, and of course this transition... I mean, it's not really concept art anymore, they kind of put it in game, right? So we got to play around with the actual thing. It's not quite got the stance that was in the concept in the Twitter art. It's actually got a real stance attached to it, and it's really nice. And it does have that feeling of like, okay, I'm you know, this is powerful, this is big, this is strong. So that's fantastic. It feels well, it handles well. It's obviously weird because it's 5-tick, and a lot of other weapons aren't 5-tick, mage-wise. You know, like all the sanks, all the tridents and stuff are 4-tick, so obviously it feels a bit weird to use. And I think the sound wasn't adjusted, so that was like one of the last things they have to do, is sound design for these things. So hopefully it's going to sound like a fucking nuclear bomb or something when it goes off, but everything, including the animation, the projectile was there, and it looks really good, so super happy about the actual design and stuff. That's a general theme for the entirety of the raid, by the way. The shadow stuff is just... it's fun to use, though. It fits where it has to, I think. Not myself, but a lot of other players were trying out these weapons, and I think someone took it to Zora. At least a couple of players took it to Zora to try and give it a go there. And it pretty much shredded Zora. I mean, that was the expectation anyway, right? But it was obviously very, very good there. I don't know if it actually is very good against blue phase, and this is something that... because I haven't done testing, I haven't looked up numbers myself, so I'm actually kind of curious, like, does it not just destroy everything? Does it not just, like, you know... even if something has high mage defense, does it just murk it? And from what I could tell, it's actually not that good against mage phase Zora. And it's fucked up because you have like 430 mage accuracy. Yeah, it's absurd. You have so much mage accuracy. It's kind of crazy. Like when you equip your stuff and all the bonuses go on, what happens is if you go into your equipment stats, it'll actually show your like mage attack bonus like this, right? But the difference is it's not like an invisible bonus. It actively like gives you your bonus into your attack, so you can see it like be like 300 something. Consider that this way with like, you know, the Crompety mage stuff is like 103, right? So if I add on everything else, especially, okay, imagine the weapon, right? The weapon is already like a good chunk of it. Not as much as the melee and range weapons, but a good chunk. But like between, you know, it's plus 14 right now. All of that is like 90 or something, right? So you have the boot slot, which is irrelevant, ring slot irrelevant, gloves, which is decent, a collar is obviously good, cape is good, and hat is like, eh. But you have like 4 slots extra, which give about the same as this. So we're getting, you know, still on top of all of this, at least another 100, if not more, mage accuracy, which is just ridiculous. But after all, it's really interesting to see it done like that, and it's nice to just have a flat number instead of like trying to work it out. But it's a lot. Anyway, fun to use. Destroyed Zora wasn't as good as against blue phase as I thought it would be, but I guess that's the trade-off, right? Like, I like to Tibo Zora, and it's obviously shit against melee phase. And if you're doing the mage thing, then you're gonna have a shit time at blue phase, sure. But still fun, still useful. I think other people tried it other places. It is, as far as I'm aware, going to be notoriously good at a lot of the God Wars things. Maybe minus Spandos. I think people know this already, though. There's been like tests and stuff, so. This isn't really like new news, but it's nice to see what it is good at. Jesus, I'm blanking. Where's my Pharaoh scepter? There we go. Oh, it's not going to take me to the pyramid. Come back, mate. There we go. Right, Osmond's Fang. Osmond's Fang is probably the only item in the game from the new stuff that I actually did not like the design of. Which is a bit of a shame because I liked everything else, but can't be too picky, I suppose. It's not a bad design. It's just not something I particularly like myself. So I don't think they're going to change it, which is fine. It is whatever. Just felt a bit maybe unwieldy, I guess. Bit big for what it is, but I don't know. Still looks okay. I'm sure people won't mind too much. But Osmond's Fang, obviously very highly accurate, and you can feel the accuracy for sure. Tried this at a few various places in the game. And I think the special attack, I'm pretty sure, I have to check this, but I have to write down a note to see if the special attack is actually something that's been discussed, because the special attack is very good. Nice to use in a good spot. It's an all-round, just like fits the spot weapon. And I guess it is just like better rapier, which makes sense. So also really happy with that weapon. Then moving on, Lightbearer, which was the special attack ring. This gives you special attack over time at a double increased rate, I believe. And this thing is like, it's pretty nutty, I think. It's obviously going to be like very good in certain places and then not used elsewhere. I'm just hoping it's kind of rare because it's interesting to combine it with other stuff, basically. And it's obviously something that you have to use in conjunction with special attack weapons. So if you have no special attack weapon, or it's just a crap weapon, or you have no death charge or something, then yeah, maybe it doesn't work. But from the testing we did with it, very fun to use. Definitely fills a niche. Masuri armor. Actually, I'll just go back to the rune pouch. So we had a new rune pouch, the 4-slot rune pouch as well. And I gotta say, super nice to have it. 5 would definitely be too strong, like definitely too strong. 4 as it stands solves a lot of problems for CM and Tob. I don't know if it does much for the new raid. Don't really want to give it away. I suppose to some extent it must help. And then for the likes of Inferno, I don't think it does anything, unfortunately, because we have to... In fact, I think, to be honest, I think the way Inferno's going, it's probably going to be a case of people start to use... okay, I think people will probably start to use pure thralling. So it's not really going to affect anybody. Let me kill this fella. But yeah, but I don't know. Inferno meta's going to change yet again once the new Masuri stuff comes out, which I'll jump back to. Wait, what am I doing? Where's my frickin' thing? Come here, Yuri. Thanks. And of course, Masuri itself, the effect of Missouri is just like more accuracy and stuff. It's really nice. Definitely looking forward to using it in the main game. Is this the right scepter? I woke up like 20 minutes ago and my brain is fried. Crab Crawl Isle, okay. House, TP... POH, Hasidius, go south. Probably should have jumped to my POH for spec, but whatever. Actually, yeah, it's an ancient wizard, I think I will. But Missouri, very nice. It's obviously, specifically, this is like an Inferno thing, but between Crystal Armor, which is what people are using a lot right now, and Missouri, the defense is obviously like really nice. I think Crystal has more range defense, but like it's not a lot more, and Missouri has just like way more everywhere else. Now the prayer is a problem, and this has always been a problem for Inferno. Like you're limited purely by the amount of prayer you have as far as how many slots you can take in. If you had like plus 50 prayer bonus, you would probably only take like 6 or 7 Samtus, if that. And currently, I think most players take 10 on average. So I think you're going to have to take 11 with this new like amount of prayer bonus you have, which is a bit of a shame. We're just getting ever limited, and I would rather that not be the case. So, of course, runs will be a bit faster, but you know, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly how much faster. But Missouri Armor, very nice design. We actually had a little bit of design input for this. There were 1 or 2 things that a lot of us weren't too keen on, and giving feedback, they were very happy to adjust 1 or 2 small things. So I think it looks really good right now. Even had a little chat about the inventory model being changed to sort of like not be so... I guess I can say this. Basically, the inventory looked a bit like a box. It was too square. I guess that's really not a giveaway, I guess. And I was like, you know, I would really like it to be a bit more distinct in the inventory to make it look like it actually does in the game. Which I think it does now. They were happy to spend a bit of time. I think Mod Soften was doing the design on that. So big thank you. Looks good now. It's really nice that they were like open to changing stuff and not just like super like, yeah, this is fine, we did it. Right, weapons are done. Moving on. Bosses, which is, I guess, is the big part of this. Croc, Human, Monkey, and Scarab are the 4 bosses. Hello, Damien. Goodbye. Oh, I need to get some more anglers out. So I guess we'll start with Croc Boss. So last time we did playtesting, Croc Boss was a little bit weird because it hadn't been fully fleshed out design-wise. So there was basically a mutadile, and the mutadile was the placeholder for the Croc, which seems about right. Except Croc Boss is like more of a croc. It's like it's more, I don't know, mutadile is obviously like a bit weird, right? It's a bit mutated. This croc is like a proper croc. It looks sick. It's probably the coolest of the raids 4 bosses, I'd say. It's also just super fun to actually do that room. Not gonna disclose why, but like it is just the most fun boss, I think, out of all of them. So I don't know, pretty much anybody who goes into that room is going to have a huge amount of fun playing that. At any level, I think players are going to have a lot of fun. That's just how it is. I really want to talk about it more, but it's like, it's kind of hard to. I should probably TP to the right place as well. Feldip, let's try him. Oh, where is this? Wait, is this my? Let me try Agility Pyramid. This should be pretty central. This is pain. North area or that bar? Okay. Please don't be random. Okay, this is a weird one. I've not had this spot before. Okay, moving on. Where were we? Croc. Croc is like super fun to play. Always has been from even the previous playtest. I think it was probably the room that has had the least changes to it since the last playtest, I think. It still very much plays exactly as it did prior. There were some balancing things, and again, there's a couple more that we were talking about this time, but it's probably going to be the most enjoyable room, I think, for most players. And then we have Human. Human boss is... It had a good amount of changes. It felt a bit more full this time. I'm about to lose to a Cabbage Mage, please. There were in particular maybe two or three mechanics that were incredibly frustrating at Human Boss last time, and these all got changed. It was things that were just frustrating pathing wise and like misclicking on stuff for the most part. So there were things that changed there to make that a bit easier. Okay, what is this? That's not too bad. We'll go to Varrock first. But the overall fight, I think what's interesting about this is probably the most interesting thing about it is that the human boss has the potential at the end of it to really allow a display of. And I'm really trying to be really careful here. It has, I think, the most potential of all the pre-final boss rooms. Oh, and speaking of, we did actually try the final boss this time around, which is really cool. But I think of the pre-rooms, human boss has the most potential to deliver a cycle. I think that's fine to say. I'm talking about things like 4-to-1 Ulm, or like tanking Verzik, when you get into this rhythm, like P2 Verzik, you have a rhythm to it. I think there's a point at human boss where that is possible in teams, specifically in teams. I think it's possible, based on how we were doing it and based on the mechanics involved. That's all I can really give away. It's not much, but it's something to look forward to for players who enjoy that kind of thing, and I really do. Let me get this. God Wars. Is that Sarah Domain? Oh no, it's just regular God Wars. Okay, we go there. But that's all I'll give away for that. It's not really. I know it's not much, but it's fun. It's stuff to look forward to. Monkey Boss. Monkey Boss was the most frustrating boss. It didn't. It really didn't scale well with invocational stuff. And now it's a lot better. I will say that Monkey Boss is probably the simplest of the rooms now. That's not a bad thing. I mean, every raid has like. Every raid will have rooms where you like don't really do much in, no matter if it's raids 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the future, and that's fine. You're not meant to like necessarily be like 24/7 pure attention. So I'd say it's probably the most simple, but certainly not like. There we go. Certainly the most simple, but certainly not like boring. There are no bosses in raid 3 that are like inherently boring right now. Everything feels pretty full. There is stuff going on, and it's interactable, so it's also really nice. But as far as like difficulty-wise and some, it's the simplest of the stuff that is still complex, I guess you could say. But it has some interesting and very unique mechanics, as all the rooms do. So it's not going to be like a walk in the park. You'll still have to figure it out. There's still a bit of learning to do. The core mechanics that we were using previously. So in the last raids playtest, they were still there. And they were a bit more refined, I guess. But that kind of mechanic, they really fucked us up for a while, It was not easy to figure out what to do. Maybe because of the actual sort of placeholder models, I'm not too sure, but I don't think players will find it immediately, and there will be some level of coordination or some level of delegation, shall we say. Not necessarily like role-wise, but like there are things you have to do. This doesn't just account for Monkey Boss. There are things in all rooms that you have to, like, to some extent work together. I mean, it's a raid after all, right? This is obvious. But especially in Monkey, like, I think you'll be punished if you don't do these things. So, yeah, you have to figure out the mechanic and do that. Scarab. Scarab Boss was changed a good amount as well. It wasn't as bad as Monkey, but it was definitely, like, not so balanced. And now it definitely is coming into its own a little bit more. A lot of the numbers, the problems that were there were like HP numbers. It just wasn't scaling very well. And to put this simply, the idea was that because you have things that can make rooms harder invocation-wise. Oh, I'm being really careful there. Because you have things like invocation-wise that make things harder, the scaling on the NPCs was not necessarily very good. And it could go from an idea of, because if you enter a raid as a solo, things are scaled to solo. If you enter a raid as a 4-man, it's scaled to 4-man. If you enter it as an 8-man, it's scaled to 8-man, whatever. And in conjunction with things in the raid that scale, or however it may be, difficulty-wise, and the scale of the party, you could get some really bad combinations where things were just way too much for what they should have been, or way too little in some cases. And this is still a problem, not just in Scarab, but more prevalent than Scarab, that they now have to fix, or find a way around. I think, to be honest, most of those things that we addressed or said like, hey, this is clearly just not quite right, they'll be adjusted. They got plenty of time to do that. The balancing should not be too bad. And I would say that it's fair game for them to adjust things after the fact. I'd quite like it if they were really just open to, you know, day 2, day 3 of release, be like, okay, players are finding this too hard or too easy, let's adjust it. I know they're going to do some things anyway. I really hope that it's not going to be some sort of Raids 1, Raids 2 thing where there are things left untouched and still to this day just like not quite balanced where they could be. For players wondering like what those things could be, I mean, an example is the explosion of the crabs in Verzik. I mean, they should really be tied to HP like the Nilo ones, because it's a bit silly, a 1 HP crab dealing like whatever it is, 1,000,000 billion damage or something. Oh, sorry, other way around, right? Like in Nilo Room, those crabs, if they're 1 HP, shouldn't deal like a 16 to you or something. Or Chambers, I mean, ugh, Chambers is just bad CM-wise, but main point is I think they'll be open to changing stuff, and that's good. Where are we with this? I think the clue is nearly done, so this is a pretty good point to sign off soon. Give me a casket. Mate, there we go. I gotta escape. So we'll get on to, I think, Final Boss. So we actually did have the chance to test Final Boss in this playtest, and it was built up pretty well. Firstly, the design of both the throne room, it's not really a throne room, I guess it's just a final boss room, it's not like a Verzik thing. But like the final boss room and the reward room, super nice detail-wise. I think it needs a little bit more on the sides to make it feel like you're in an actual space as opposed to just some sort of like... It was fairly plain. It looked nice, but it was like fairly plain, I guess. And I would really like if it was more sort of... This doesn't give shit away. Like, I mean, you're in the pyramid, right? And what I wanted was like it to be really obvious that you're in a pyramid. So, for example, like one side of the far wall had like a giant crack going through it or something, so you could tell that that was that side of the room. Basically, giving it some more idea of like, oh, this is left, this is right, that's that area. Because it looks great, but it's more... It feels like it's the same all the way around, I guess, for the most part. But mechanics-wise, I ain't going into detail. I can't say. But there is some real potential there for some fun stuff. And we were doing some, like... what was cool about it was that they were able to change it while we were there. So, like, we would do a test run, and then we TP back to the main boss after we died, and they'd be like, all right, we'll tweak this for you. We'll try this out. We'll see how you feel about it. And I like the idea of this really active testing. Like, every single time we went in, it was something different. It wasn't just some preset thing. So we got a little bit of that as well. Boss... Okay, I'm just not going to say. There's so many things I want to say and I just can't say. But, I don't know. I guess I'll just leave off with, like, final boss, incredibly fun. I think there is a point in the boss where it needs something more. And everyone was saying this, like, it's good, but it needs something more. And it's difficult because there are so many ideas that could be potentially good, and it's hard to know which one they're going to implement. The only thing I want to say is that, despite this, the potential for scaling the difficulty of the mechanical prowess needed to like complete it is there. You could, you know, if we were doing it on minimal invocational difficulty, it wouldn't be like, it would probably be quite easy. But the second you start adding on invocations and you get to the max level, the way it was, which is going to be changed because it's silly currently, but hopefully with the new mechanics added and whatnot, it's clearly going to be the hardest thing in the game by a long shot. I hope there are learnable parts or things that are going to be a bit more obvious to do with time. Not necessarily like cycle based, but like, because a lot of it is more sort of reactional, I guess, which is nice. That's kind of something I wanted a lot more of. It's not like an Olm cycle necessarily. I think there are parts to it that are, but the part that I'm specifically talking about now anyway. But I just want it to be like ridiculously hard, and that seems to be the case. And currently I'm not sure. I'm pretty certain there will not be a full invocation clear. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Not just because of this like specific hard part at the boss at the end, but there are room bits in other places that are just going to knock your socks off. It's going to be so damn difficult. And this is, you know, we've been asking for it for ages, so it's a good thing. I will be pretty surprised if someone gets a full clear, like, solo or even in a team based on this. And I do kind of hope that they want to add more or make it harder and just make it fucking impossible, because at least from a speedrunning thing, I don't really care much for the speedrunning stuff currently in the game, but if they make something like a quote-unquote impossible challenge, that sounds way more appealing to try for. And it's kind of going in that direction, I guess. But regardless, the entire thing, super fun. Weapons and rewards and all that looks to be in a really good place, both design aesthetic-wise, power-wise, everything. Boss-wise, everything feels distinct, feels good, everything's been adjusted. And that period was 1 month from the playtest prior up until now, and they have another month, so from this point where we have sort of like seen the progress from those bosses, hopefully we get the same progress from the final boss that also like gets better and gets to that point where we're like, oh, I can actually interact with it without being dumpstered, or it's not so easy anymore, you know. And then, no, really, that's it. Hopefully in a month I wake up and it's all there and we can go and try it out. I will stress that for any of the playtesters, we're not allowed to stream until there is a completion on the board. From anyone, not just from us. But I do have a Raids 3 team, which I don't know if we're going to be announcing who's on it, but it's a full team of 8 people. And it's 8 content creators. So the team is going to be incredibly hypers. And I will not be giving anything away to them, won't be doing anything to help them out. If the team dies, I'll probably like play for like a minute and then plank on purpose to let people actually try and figure stuff out. But it's going to be super fun, I can tell already. So I will try and make some more content for the YouTubes as well for Raids 3, just whatever it may be. Hopefully just posting like the challenge highlights of high invocational completions and clears, I guess. Or maybe if there's things to learn and there's like, again, like, I really like the things like Olm cycles or Verzik tanking things, P1, P2, P2, P3. So if there are things like that I'm actually able to find or create or whatever it is, I'll try and make some videos on that as well. Although I think that nowadays there are enough good players that will figure them out way before I do. I might have a chance on the likes of Aatykon, which I think there is one there, but yeah. Anyway, again, if you've got questions, I'll be live when this video pops out, so feel free to come on by and ask. I need to double check that I didn't give anything away. I don't think so. Nothing important, but I'll double check. Otherwise, have a good day. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully this was an interesting lesson. See you guys.